Anunnaki Homeworld by Jason M. Breshears. Read by Kevin Stevens, also known as Grendel Dark. Archive 3. Ancient Earth Killer Comet Group. Comets are signs of the revolutions of kingdoms, the rebellions of cities, famines, pestilences, tides of the ocean, and of earthquakes. Stobaceous in Physica. Each time Niburu reaches perihelion in the inner solar system, its deep, frozen, fractured oceans fragment, and significantly sized regions break away from its surface. After traveling with the disintegrating planet through billions of miles of space, this world approaches perihelion near Earth, and the areas of this growing strewn field of rock and cometary detritus are freed from Nibiru's gravitational hold and enter into their own orbits around the Sun. Some of these groups maintain orbits mathematically connected to the orbit of Niburu, while others become more erratic. All of the groups experience entropy, begin disintegrating, fragment further, die out, and spread out into wider and longer debris fields and trains. The first group, detailed herein, broke away from Niburu in 3499 BC. This was exactly 60 years prior to the descent of the Anunnaki in 3439 BC, before the flood, as the homeworld of these watcher beings entered the system. In the 18th year of their passing over the Sun, planet Phoenix descends from over the Sun to south of the ecliptic in 3481 BC, see when the Sun darkens, perturbing the comets, drawing them into a 138-year orbit around the Sun. This begins the amazing orbital chronology of the ancient Earth-killer comet group in 3361 BC. 3361 BC, 5:34 a.m. Comet group remains concentrated in a debris field all within 1 year of each other as they descend over the ecliptic, free of both Niburu and now Phoenix, stabilizing on a 396-year solar orbit linking these comets to Niburu. For 396 is exactly half of Nibiru's 792-year orbit, 396 times 2. This seemingly arbitrary date is directly indicated within the Great Pyramid's chronometrical scheme for the entire length of the ascending passage to the Great Step, emblematic of Christ, is 3,361 pyramid inches. See chronotecture. 330 years below ecliptic. 3031 BC, 8:64 a.m. The comets ascend over the ecliptic in this amazing year of 864 Annus Mundi, the year representing the foundation of time of the Sumerian sexagesimal system. It is to be recalled that this sum's import relates to the movement of the Earth and is 792 years before the Great Flood, 66 years above ecliptic. 2965 BC, 9:30 a.m. The patriarch of humankind made in the image of God, Adam, died at age 930 of the Hebraic Annus Mundi system, Genesis 5:5. However, his age is measured from the banishment of man from Eden in 3895 BC. Adam was created 144 years prior by the builders, Anunnaki, at the behest of God, when the Creator breathes his spirit in him, which offended the Anunnaki. In the 6th day of the renovation of Earth, 144th hour, in 4039 BC, just prior to his death, on his deathbed, Adam informs the Sethites of the coming of the great flood that will destroy the entire world. When Adam died, the sun darkened, as a comet, for the first time in human history, transited and occulted the sun. The 930 years of Adam mirror the 930 years, 5239 to 4309 BC, of the pre-Adamic world governed by the Anunnaki until it was destroyed. 330 years under ecliptic. 2635 BC, 1260 a.m. No records. 1260 is half of 2520, 360 times 7. 66 years above ecliptic. 2569 BC. No records. This is the 40th year of the reign of the Anunnaki king in Galana, the midpoint of his 80-year rule. He is one of the 7 kings listed on the ancient Sumerian king lists, 330 years below ecliptic. 2239 BC, 1656 AM. Planet Phoenix transits, darkening the sun 7 days before the flood begins. See when the sun darkens. This year completed 4 cursed Earth periods of 414 years each, and 3 Phoenix cycles of 552 years each, 1656. As Phoenix transits and a large comet approaches Earth of the ancient Earth Killer Comet group, Earth suffers a pole shift according to the Book of Enoch, 64, 1-4, and the tractate Santorin at 108b. The rabbinical records indicate the flood was caused by the falling of 2 stars. The number 108 archaically identified the comet as clearly revealed in this author's other works, Descent of the 7 Kings and Chronicon, which interestingly is referred to in tractate 108b as well as on page 108 of Frank Joseph's book, The Destruction of Atlantis, wherein he notes that it is believed that the flood was caused by a comet. The antediluvian world enjoyed a pristine climate globally due to a watery atmosphere called the firmament above, a marine canopy that magnified the heavens while also reflecting away ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The comet plunged directly into and through this mesosphere of high water in the sky and initiated its collapse, a virtual implosion of water that some believe was frozen smooth like glass, allowing the ancients to see incredibly vast distances in space. Earthquakes and strange electrical storms rage as the heavens are turned upside down and rains increase upon Earth. Meteorites from the comet group are drawn in and bombard the surface, often trailing noxious gases before impacting in other regions, and many die by asphyxiation. The foundations of the world, basement rock, are broken, and pillars of lava ignite gases with boiling vapor that spews forth in thousands of fountains and geysers, with volcanic violence not experienced by mankind since this date. A global ocean is created, and the former surface materials of the planet are scrambled, and much is reconstituted according to weight and density, with billions of dead people, giants, and creatures from land and sea all get deposited into these layers as the immense pressure from the weight of this churning ocean and the boiling waters full of radioactive contamination entombs them into what is essentially cooked under these conditions into the layers of the fossiliferous and terribly misinterpreted geologic column. The old world has been turned into a single planetary fossil of a former global ecosystem that had not known Arctic polar regions or seasonal changes, with that earlier world having been a global greenhouse. The flood transpired 792 years after 864 Annus Mundi, 3031 BC, and began a 792-year countdown to the Exodus and 10 plagues on Egypt in 1447 BC. This is the 3000th year of the Anunnaki chronology, which began in 5239 BC. See Descent of the 7 Kings. 66 years over ecliptic. 2173 BC. 1722 AM. No records. Chinese tradition of Emperor Chang holds that the sun darkened in what is translated as 2173 BC, this being 36 years after the flood, perhaps an anachronism, 330 years below the ecliptic. 1843 BC, 2042 AM. No records, 66 years over ecliptic. 1777 BC, 2118 AM. No records, 330 years under ecliptic. 1447 BC, 2448 AM. This is the exact date of the exodus of Israel from Egypt and the 10 plagues. plagues break out all over Egypt, possibly the world, and Tacitus wrote that the horrible epidemic disfigured the body. The Chinese Ma Wang Dui Silk Almanac tells of a great comet with 10 tails, 10 plagues origin, that Graham Phillips believes appeared in about 1500 BC. This was exactly in 1447 BC, only 53 years variance. Phillips further demonstrates that this is what the Egyptians saw in the sky, 10 tails that literally filled the heavens. The comet's tail occults the sun, and in 2nd Esdras we read that the whole world suffered an earthquake as heavenly omens troubled the men of that age. The Jewish Haggadah text reads that the 10th plague upon Egypt was by far the worst, for the majority of the Egyptians died, expiring in this plague. The incredible Egyptian Ipuwer papyrus reads that these plagues and darkness was foretold to the ancestors. Ipuwer wrote that the sun was covered in darkness, people cowered in fear, blood was everywhere, and whole cities were destroyed. Earthquakes, meteoritic rain, and noxious storms were all attended by erratic behavior from animals and insect swarms. A reddish contamination of the Nile and the violent volcanic eruption of Thera from the Mediterranean also occurred. Again, Crete and Mycenae are ruined, this being 240 years, 60 times 40, after they were previously destroyed in 1687 BC by the transit of Phoenix, see, when the sun darkens, and giant skeletons with colossal skulls have been excavated from among the ruins of Thera. Linear A script of Minoan Crete ceases, and the survivors developed Linear B by adjusting other Proto-Greek scripts. Many of the megalithic cities around the world that were rebuilt after the 1687 BC cataclysm are now abandoned for good, to be overtaken by the sea, by jungle growth, by desert sands, mined for new building materials, or naturally covered by the earth over the millennia. This is the year 2448 Annus Mundi, the Hebrew year 2448 being recorded in the Talmudic Seder Hadaroth text as being the year of the Exodus and 10 plagues on Egypt. Interestingly, Patrick Jarrell and Gino Ratinex independently discovered that the ancient Egyptian number for cataclysm was 2448. The amazing synchronicity of this year and actual chronological proofs that this was 1447 BC are to be seen abundantly in Chronicon, c. 1447 BC, 66 years over ecliptic. 1381 BC, 2514 AM, no records. This is the 108th year of the life of Joshua, the Hebrew leader who commanded the Israelite army in the conquest of Canaan in 1407 BC. In this year, Joshua relinquished his command over Israel and passed over the rulership of the people to the elders, 330 years under ecliptic. 1051 BC, 2844 AM. By this time, the comets are spread out into a train of 3 or 4 years. However, the 1063 BC entrance of Niburu in the inner system perturbs these comets, and the immense strewn train is divided into 2 groups under the influence of tidal forces from Niburu, the Sun, and a close pass by Earth. The larger group becomes the King of Israel Great Orbit Comet Group, beginning in 1051 BC, this being King Saul of Israel's first regnal year, a wicked king. The comet group is spread out into a 14-year-long train to 1039 BC, the year of David's birth, who will become King David, a living prophecy of the coming of Christ. The smaller detritus field will continue on, unperturbed on its established orbit, 66 years over ecliptic. 985 BC, 2910 AM, no records, 330 years below ecliptic. 655 BC, 3240 AM, no records, 66 years over ecliptic. 589 BC, 3306 AM, no records, 330 years below ecliptic. 259 BC, 3636 AM. The deteriorating stone train of the ancient Earth Killer Comet group enters the inner system in a 19-year-long chain of debris. 240 BC, 3655 AM. A comet is seen by the Chinese, this being in the final year of the passing of this comet group. It will be seen a final time in 174 BC, 66 years over ecliptic. 183 BC, 3702 AM. No records. In this year, the 19-year-long debris train passes into the system, the 19th year being 174 BC. 174 BC, 3721 AM. Paralleling the 19th year of the train in 240 BC, in this year, during the Roman consulships of Spurius Postumius and Quintius Mucius, two suns appeared at midday according to Pliny. This describes what appeared to be a disintegrating comet with light shining through and off of its millions of fragments. This is the end of the ancient Earth Killer Comet group. The next comet group explored is actually very much part of this first one, for it was initially joined to it when these immense glacial sheets fragmented off the surface of Niburu and fractured into comets and asteroid chains. It wasn't until 1051 BC that the two groups separated, by a large margin due to the gravitational strain and chaotic dynamics through the interaction of the Sun, Nibiru's presence in the inner system, and a close pass by Earth.